Welcome everybody to our Provo City Municipal Council meeting. It is Tuesday evening, September 1st, 2020. It is 5:31 p.m. This meeting will be conducted entirely via electronic means on August 10th, 2020, with Utah Code 52-4-2074. The council chair, George Handley, determined that conducting meetings of the municipal council with an anchor location, such as the municipal council chamber, presents a substantial risk to the health and safety of those who may be present there. These are the facts upon which I made this determination. Utah has been in a declared state of emergency due to COVID-19 since March 6, 2020, a disease outbreak which the World Health Organization has characterized as a pandemic. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention state that COVID-19 is easily spread from person to person, between people who are in close contact with one another. The disease spreads through respiratory droplets when an infected person coughs, sneezes, or talks, and it may be spread by people who are asymptomatic. Federal, state, and local authorities have recommended that individuals limit public gatherings, wear face masks, and follow social distancing guidelines. Notwithstanding that Utah generally and Utah County specifically have been moved to the low-risk yellow phase, reported COVID-19 cases in Provo continue to rise at a high rate, more than 100 cases per day on a 14-day average. Physical distancing measures will be difficult to set up and maintain in the Provo City Municipal Council chamber. Additionally, the chair of the governing board of the Redevelopment Agency of Provo has determined that its meetings are subject to the same risks and has adopted the same procedures as the municipal council. The meeting will be available to the public for live broadcast and on-demand viewing at youtube.com/Provo City Council. The council requests that attendees help maintain the decorum of the meeting by silencing electronic devices and being respectful to others, and by waiting to speak until called on by the council chair. In the current situation where this meeting is being held via Zoom webinar and broadcast over YouTube, I remind you to turn off your mics when not speaking so as to minimize the potential for background noises and conversations to be picked up, recorded, and broadcast for all to hear. I will introduce my colleagues here who are joining me for this meeting. I am George Handley, the council chair. I'm joined by Dave Harding, vice chair, council members Shannon Ellsworth, Bill Fillmore, Dave Sewell, Dave Shipley, and Travis Hoban. We're also joined by Chief Administrative Officer Wayne Parker, Deputy Mayor Isaac Paxman, Council Attorney Brian Jones, and other staff who will be assisting us during this meeting. We excuse Mayor Michelle Kafusi, who is away on a family obligation. We wish her safe travels and we'll expect her to be returning to the community soon. But we will not have her presence with us this evening. The opening prayer will be given by Linda Walton, who is a Utah Valley Interfaith, is a representative of the Utah Valley Interfaith Association. We're pleased to have her with us. After her invocation, we will have a Pledge of Allegiance performed by Mr. Travis Hoban. So thank you, Ms. Walton. Let's see, I think you're muted. Can we,
star 6.
What's that? Star 6, Ms. Walton, if that should unmute you. I can't unmute her, so I don't know. Is anyone in communication with her?
I'm communicating the same way you are.
Okay, she can. I don't know if she can hear us. I can't see her either, so I don't know.
Let's do the pledge first.
Okay,
we'll solve the technical.
Do the pledge. If somebody has her phone number and can maybe text with her to see if we can resolve that issue. So, Mr. Hoban, go ahead with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Hoban. All right, have we had any luck with Ms. Walton? Not yet.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Got it. Okay.
Wonderful. Go ahead. We appreciate you being with us tonight.
Yes, thank you very much. Let's pray together. Our dear Father in heaven, today we are so grateful for so many things. Even though there are many problems in the world and in our local area, we still have so many blessings compared to those that we see around the world. We are grateful that you have taken such good care of us. We are grateful for your Holy Spirit. And Father, today, as we go down the agenda, we pray that you will give the members wisdom and that they will be able to find the very best things that will be the best for our community. Father, please be with the other employees of our city, particularly the police and fire and other emergency personnel, that they will be safe and that they will be able to save others. Father, thank you so much for this wonderful place to live. And we pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. I want to alert the public that on our agenda tonight, items 5, 6, and 7 have been continued, which means that if you were planning to make any comments on those items, you're welcome to comment during our public comment period right now, rather than waiting until later. Mr. Strachan will explain a little bit more about public comment. So go ahead, Mr. Strachan.
Thank you. There are 3 types of items for which public comment will be received. The first is the open public comment period. The council will allow up to 15 minutes for public comments on matters that do not appear on tonight's agenda. The second is for items that require a public hearing. For these items, time will be provided for all those who wish to speak. The third is for items on the agenda that do not require a public hearing. The council will allow up to 15 minutes for comments on each item. Because the City Council is meeting virtually using Zoom webinar and the meeting is being broadcast on Provo City Council's YouTube channel, we have enabled telephone access to receive public comment, the numbers for which will be shown on screen during the meeting. Callers may have to try multiple numbers to get connected. When a caller is connected, they will be required to enter the meeting ID and enter the pound symbol. When asked for a personal ID number, enter pound. The caller will now enter the meeting as an attendee and will be able to hear the meeting while muted. If a caller wishes to speak on the item being discussed, they can press *9 to indicate their desire to comment and then wait to be called upon. Callers will be called upon by the last 4 digits of the listed phone number. Please provide your name and city of residence before making your comments. Each caller will be given up to 2 minutes to speak. A timer will be posted on screen and a beep should be audible to the caller when their time is up. A reminder that there's a lag of approximately 30 to 60 seconds between the meeting and the broadcast. To avoid confusion, callers should mute the YouTube or Facebook broadcast to hear the discussion in real time. The open public comment period starts now.
All right, thank you, Mr. Strachan. So again, if you have any comments on anything other than if you wish to make any comments on items 1 through 4, please wait until we get to those items. But otherwise, public comment is welcome at this time. So press *9 so we know that you are requesting the opportunity to speak. We'll give it about a minute or less. All right, seeing no public comment, we will bring it back to the council to begin our action agenda. We'll begin with item number 1, which is an implied motion on a joint resolution of the Provo City Mayor and Municipal Council outlining support for the Provo School District General Obligation Bond, and this will be presented by Mr. Cliff Strachan.
Thank you. John, would you bring it up on the screen, please? Council, this is just a reminder that a couple of weeks ago, recently in August, you had a meeting with the Provo School District, and which you heard about their issues with PIMP and their plans and need for a bond. And we were directed to prepare a joint resolution for the mayor and for the council outlining support for the district bond. And this resolution you have before you, basically, if you can scroll down to the bottom, the whereas clauses outlines the reason, and the now therefore is be it resolved that we, the members of the Provo City Municipal Council, jointly with the mayor of Provo City, express our support for the Provo School District General Obligation Bond. And if you pass that, this resolution tonight, then Mr. Hanley and Mayor Kafusi will sign this as the resolution of the council and the mayor.
All right, so we'll open it up for any public comment. We'll give it a minute here to allow anyone to call in. Okay, we'll bring it back to the council. I'd like to just maybe start a brief discussion here. I don't know. Maybe there's more discussion, but I think we all know what this is about. But I just wanted to give some of the newer council members a little bit of background that might be relevant here. That we issued a city bond, as you will all remember, a few years back, and that was during a time of struggle with the school district's needs as well. They had determined that they were not quite ready to issue or try to issue a bond that year, but they offered public support for our city bond. And the following year, the school bond came up last year and failed at the ballot. And I think at this point, as we all know, one of the issues that they're confronting at this point is a high school that's in pretty bad shape, and as we speak, is being retrofitted, and students are being shuffled around to make it safe for the students. Anyway, I just wanted to provide a little of that background, which I think is relevant to our voice of support here. I would just, I think it's important that they get the support that they need, and I think that this situation is pretty dire, and waiting even further for the proper financing for their needs at this point seems to be a very, very consequential decision that we would like to avoid. So I certainly lend my support and would urge my fellow councilors to do so as well. Any further comments from the council on this? Ms. Ellsworth, go ahead.
Yeah, I appreciate the work of the school board, and I think they've done a phenomenal job with what they've had. And I personally support this bond, but I question if it's the place of the city council to create this kind of resolution. So I'm just looking for, I don't know, some discussion about the pros and cons of creating a resolution like this. I don't know why we need to be involved.
Would anyone else like to address that question? Mr. Fillmore, unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'd like to make a response to that. I believe that the two primary responsibilities of any community that's governing boards is first to take care of public safety, whether you're federal, state, or local entity. I think public safety is number one, but number two has to be proper education of our children. And while we have no authority over school board decisions, we have a symbiotic relationship in that we're responsible for their infrastructure in terms of utilities. And of course, we share the same concerns the board does to create quality education opportunities. And I'm aware that the bond failed last year and the board has scaled it back this year just due to the bare necessity. It's going to have to be done in phases. It's going to end up costing us more than what the bond a year ago would have cost. But there's serious safety issues there, and they're just getting worse. And I think I, for one, support the board in moving forward. It's not an easy thing to raise taxes, but there's a necessity here, and we're doing it for the children, and I fully support it. And I think it's appropriate for the city, the city council, to express an opinion of support.
Thank you, Mr. Fillmore. Ms. Ellsworth.
Yeah, I appreciate Mr. Fillmore's comments, and I definitely want to keep the children safe. And like I said, I support the bond. I just question the city's role in this. We've had different discussions lately about community stakeholders and their involvement and endorsement of our policy. And no other agency or community stakeholder has lately been endorsing our policies. And I just question, when is the proper time or proper issue to do that? So yeah, I'm still left with some concerns.
Mr. Harding.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think this is a great question, Ms. Ellsworth. I think we should be able to clearly answer it if we're going to move forward with this. For me, it's in part that we're not lobbying the district to do one thing or another, which I think might be more analogous if some of the large institutions around us were lobbying the mayor or the council to take a position or another on say the mask mandates, since that's the kind of the topic of the month. But this instead is reaching out to the voters of Provo and encouraging them to vote a particular way on an issue that's going to be before them at the ballot box. I think where the nexus is that our school district has such a large impact on the quality of life of the residents of Provo and the health of our community. And so I think from that perspective, because we have a shared interest in the health of the community, that to me kind of justifies us weighing in on this issue. And I do think there's some value in our positions being such that the community has elected us to be leaders. And if we have looked into this issue and we feel like we can endorse it and give that confidence to the people who have put their trust in us, then I think that, to me, that's what justifies why we should consider passing this resolution.
Was there a resolution last year with last year's bond?
No, there was
And I think that was in part because I think there were some mixed opinions on the council whether or not the bond as proposed last year was a good thing.
And do we have consensus now that the bond this year is a good thing and that it's a good thing for the city to endorse?
Well, I suppose that's one thing we're going to find out, right? But I think I would just reiterate what I said before. I agree with what Mr. Fillmore and Mr. Harding have said. This is a very symbiotic relationship, and it's important to our community that we collaborate when we can. We can't force different bodies to do anything, and we're not under any obligation necessarily to always have to weigh in, certainly on every single, least of all on every single decision the school board makes. But when there is an issue like this that I think is confronting the community, and there is a situation as we're facing right now where there's this kind of risk of things getting much, much worse for our community, I think it's not only appropriate that we weigh in, I think it's obligatory. And if there's unanimous support for this, then obviously that has special impact and value for this situation. And I don't mean to say that we're obligated to do this because the school board put their support behind our city bond, but I don't think that's a small thing. They took some significant risk, as we did. We both had needs, and we knew that it was going to be difficult to ask. It was a lot to ask our community, and to both support a city bond and then a year later support a school bond. And since the school bond did not succeed, and we didn't offer our unanimous support last year, and now that they're in this situation, I personally feel we owe it to them to do this for them and for the benefit of the community. I don't want to overstate what kind of an impact such a resolution has. I mean, it's obviously got limited impact since it's nothing more than a resolution. But I think for the sake of our shared goals, I think we should do this together. Any other comments from the council? Mr. Hoban.
Hey, I don't know if this would mean it'd be continued, but I just read this today. Seems pretty straightforward. Although I will say I'm not educated enough on the bond issue at this point, probably to sign my name to something. Not that I don't support the school system or even that Timp needs some repairs. But I guess I just want to probably do some more research before kind of officially putting my name on something. We've been so swamped with mask mandates and stuff the last, 10 days, 14 days. Probably haven't done my due diligence on this bond yet. So again, I don't know if that means we continue it, or if you want to take a straw poll, or, if you want to vote, and then I can, continue it at that time. I don't know how you want to proceed, but sounds like maybe Miss Ellsworth has some concerns as well. So maybe another week or two might get us all on the same page.
Mr. Harding.
Thank you, Chair. Just, I guess, full disclosure, last year, I guess it was just last year, I did not support what was proposed in the bond. I supported several aspects of the bond, but I think in its totality, there were aspects there that I couldn't support. I have looked at it much closer, or I've looked at it this year, and it is something that I'm happy to support. And I guess from that perspective of support, I would prefer maybe postponing the vote for a couple of weeks if that gives us a better chance at a unanimous resolution. So if there are people that want more time to look at it, I would support that request.
All right, Mr. Shipley.
Just really quick, want to add a couple thoughts that I have on this. I think I interpreted from our joint meeting with the school district that whether or not this bond is supported or not this fall, the school district will proceed spending money to reinforce what needs to happen at Timpview. And really the option that we have on the table is supporting something that allows for a little bit less expensive financing for that to take place, and also allows, the school district to move forward more confidently in a process that's more streamlined, with this particular type of financing versus another option that they have. And so there were aspects of the bond last year, like Mr. Harding alluded to, that I didn't support. I'm fully supportive of this bond, and I would encourage any citizens of Provo that would just like to reach out and ask any questions that they have regarding the finances part of this and the financing of a bond like this and what other options the school district has, to reach out to the school district board, first of all, but if you still have any other questions, I'd be happy to discuss them with you. I think it's important that we understand what the option is or the choice is in front of us. And for me, the option is either way Timpview gets reinforced, this is the less expensive and less complicated way to move forward.
Mr. Sewell?
I'd just like to say that I'm unmuted. Okay. Just like to say that I think schools are a vital part of our community and of our community's future. And I'm very happy to support this bond whenever the rest of my colleagues are ready to move ahead.
All right. So nobody's actually made a formal motion. So let me ask if there is a motion. I mean, it's an implied motion that we would vote on passing it. If you do not want to do that vote, then we would need a substitute motion. Mr. Hoban.
I guess I would make a substitute motion that we delay this until the next the next council meeting and vote at that time. Just continue it.
Okay, is there a second on that motion?
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? I have just one question, and I don't know, maybe there's nobody here who can answer it, but I guess I'm wondering if there was any reason why the timing was crucial for tonight, both the 2 weeks from now. Is there any reason to believe that 2 weeks from now would be problematic? Does anybody know? Okay. All right. So any further discussion of the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote on the motion. I'll begin and I will vote yes. Mr. Harding?
Yes.
Ms. Ellsworth?
Yes.
Mr. Fillmore?
Yes.
Hoban? Yes.
Mr. Sewell?
Yes.
Shipley?
Yes.
Okay, voting was unanimous. We'll return to that item in 2 weeks, and I would just urge everybody to be as informed as possible about that bond. Be ready in 2 weeks' time to make that vote. So we'll turn to item number 2, which is an implied motion on a resolution to place a 0.207 acre parcel of vacant land at 1320 South and east of 1080 on the surplus property list, and to approve a real estate purchase contract for the city sale of city property for a residential development. And this will be presented by Tara Riddle, our property coordinator. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to address you this evening. For the benefit of those viewers who are not watching the work session earlier today, on February 28th of last year, the council surplused an approximate 1.548 acre parcel of ground located generally at 1320 South and 1080 East, and authorized the sale of the property with the understanding that the terms would be brought back to the council for final review and approval. After the action from the council, we went through a bidding process on the property and selected a developer with a similar vision and a reasonable offer price. Okay, can I have the next slide, please? While reviewing the legal descriptions and development proposal for the real estate purchase contract, we determined 2 things. First, that a boundary line agreement should be executed with the adjoining property owner to correct the boundary on our north side and their west side, which is our east boundary. And second, we should surplus a 0.207 acre parcel of ground that sits directly south of the city substation and include it in the overall development plan. This property will not be needed for any expansion of the substation and will become a burden for the city to maintain in the future. The developer is interested in using the property for landscaping, possible parking, and to provide a driveway entrance into the substation from the south. So taking these 2 things into account, the new acreage for the overall project will be 1.7 acres. Can I get the next slide, please? So based on the council's direction in previous discussions, we met with the developer and gave him general guidance in proposing different housing products with upgraded finishes. They've provided these exhibits as general ideas for elevations and exterior finishes. Okay, the next slide, please. The proposed development has 5 twin homes, which would be 10 units with the estimated list price of $310,000 each, and 8 single-family homes with the estimated price of $375,000 to $399,000. If the developer is allowed to include basements in these homes, the square footage will be between 2,200 square feet and 3,000 square feet. And if no basements are allowed, the square footage will be 1,600 to 2,200 square feet per unit. And get the next slide, please. So some of the key points for the real estate purchase contract is when we originally met with the developer, we asked them to upgrade the design and the finishes. And they estimated the cost of the upgraded project improvements to be over $200,000. So they proposed to the city a cost sharing approach for those upgrades by having the city split the cost of the land. Originally it was $360,000 and they lowered it to $260,000 with the 50% split with what we're calling the plus part of that falling on the development group. Upon further negotiation with them, it was agreed that the city would be paid for the land as the units sell. This will increase the sales price to $540,000, which is those 18 units at $30,000 per unit. While this will not be decreasing any of the quality, so the city would be willing to carry the property. It frees up the money that would have gone to the bank to put up the quality finishes. It should be noted that the city will be accepting some risks if the units are slow to sell or if the price reductions are needed to take place. However, if the city is going to direct what is built, which we are doing in this case, then we should be willing to assume some of that risk. With that said, I believe that at these price points and the enhanced finishes and housing type, these units will sell out very quickly. This evening, what we're asking for is an approval from the council for the resolution to surplus the 0.207 acres of property and an approval of the real estate purchase contract, which will include that property and the property that was surplus back in February of last year. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Any questions? All right. Thank you. Is there any public comment on this? Again, if you would like to make a comment, you need to call in as instructed on the screen and press *9 to indicate your interest in speaking. We'll wait just a minute here. All right, seeing no public comment, we'll bring it back to the council for any discussion from the council. All right, seeing no discussion, then I will call for a vote on the implied motion. I'll begin with you, Mr. Harding.
Yes.
Ms. Ellsworth.
Yes.
Mr. Fillmore. Mr. Fillmore.
Yes.
Mr. Hoban.
Yes.
Mr. Sewell.
Yes.
Mr. Shipley.
Yes.
And I will also vote yes, so that is unanimous. Thank you very much, Ms. Riddle, for your time.
Thank you.
I'll turn to our next item on the action agenda, which is an implied motion on a resolution approving the Municipal Wastewater Planning Program report for 2019 in accordance with the Utah Pollutant Discharge Elimination System report. This will be presented by Mr. Gary Calder, Water Resources Division Director for the City of Provo. Go ahead, Mr. Calder.
Thank you, Council, for letting me present this tonight. As mentioned, this is a resolution as well as a report that we submit to the state for the Municipal Wastewater Planning Program. This is an annual report that we submit every year. And there is information inside of that report that helps not only you as the council and administration to understand what is happening in the wastewater system within the city, but also the state to understand that. In 2012, Provo City, as well as every city in the state, implemented a permit that we as a city give a review and report of our municipal wastewater system. That permit covers the collection of our wastewater as well as programs to develop control and abatement of new and our existing system. So if I could have the next slide, please. This is a self-assessment report. In other words, what that means is that this is a report that we put together as a city. The state gives us questions that we answer and that we submit that to the state. And so we've been doing this since 2012. Next slide, please. This report is filled out by 3 individuals within the Public Works Department. Jimmy McKnight, who does our financial dealings with us in the Public Works, he fills out a section. The collection system is done by our manager, Chris Wright, who is over the collections system. And then our treatment plant manager, who is Mark Ogren, he fills out the final chapter of that report. And so that report, basically one of the things it covers, next slide please, is for us to maintain, making sure that our system is maintained. And the one concern that we have, and that is from an environmental standpoint, that overflows are minimized or reduced or removed totally, as well as making sure that we, the city, are providing adequate capacity for new development as it happens within the city. So I'm glad to report to the city administration and the council members that last year, 2019, we had 0 overflows or 0 spills within our collection system. Next slide, please. Or yes, please. This here is a picture of our crews that are maintaining our system. This is a jetter truck. It's a very expensive piece of machinery, but it is one of the main ways in which we maintain our system to assure that our overflows are minimized. If you'll look at the next slide, you will see a picture on the top right corner where a line has been cleaned and we can see water coming into it. This is just one of the many things that our crews maintain. But here we have an inflow of groundwater into our system, which is a burden cost to the city because we're treating groundwater that does not need to be treated. We're able to, in the bottom right corner, actually go inside to our system. This is approximately 12 feet down in a residential neighborhood and put in a patch between manholes to stop that inflow. There's other things that these collection crews do. Oil and grease are a big problem, but and also monitoring our system. But this is all part of the report as far as the state wanting us to double check what we do. The next slide, please. Part of our system is we break our city into small areas or large areas that we are monitoring on a regular basis. And we are also, just so you know, we model as a new development comes in. We are looking to see the impacts downstream from that development, any impacts it may have all the way to the treatment plant. And so that is part of the recommendations that the state has given us, which we are complying with. And this shows those areas. If you go to the next slide as well, this here is a memo that we presented to the council a couple of years ago with areas within the city that we have concerns on regarding growth or capacity issues. Every area that's in the orange or red, I am proud to say that we are working on a remedy to solve these areas with the rates that have increased and helping to make sure that our system continues to be able to grow in a what I would say a very organized manner and being able to continue to maintain our system. I would also like to point out that our treatment plant had no violations. So all told, between our collections as well as our treatment plant, we had 0 violations from the state, which is very, it's very hard. It's been several years since we've had that, but we are complying with the permit from the state. The report that we submit to the state is approximately 30 pages in length, and but we have that report for your review if you'd like it. But the object tonight is that we provide this information to the state, which helps us in our relationship with the state as far as helping us help find areas within our own system that need improvements, but also they help us as far as financial help, such as the new treatment plant if we need a loan. So this is a two-way agreement that we have that benefits the residents of Provo as well as the state, making sure we're compliant. So that's, if you have any questions for me, that's, I have available.
All right, thank you, Mr. Calder. Any questions for Mr. Calder? All right, we heard this item earlier today, and I'll now open it up for any, oh, sorry, Mrs. Ellsworth has a question, but let me just alert the public that when we're done asking questions, we'll open it up for public comment if there's anyone who'd like to comment. Go ahead, Ms. Ellsworth.
I'm just curious what's made the difference for your department this year. Obviously, you always do a great job, but has there been anything different or anything that the council can do or has done to support your department?
I would say 2 years ago, we were increased our funding for what we call our I&I, which is our inflow and infiltration, which has allowed us, that picture I showed you of fixing that leak. So we have additional money to maintain our system. There are parts of our system that are very old. And so that additional revenue has helped us as far as being able to fix those areas. These patches that you see there, I would say we probably do one of these probably every other week. And it's $4,000 or $5,000 for each one of these patches that we do, which is above and beyond all the other things that these crews do. So I would say having that additional revenue has helped us as far as decreasing the amount of flows that we are having, but also helping us make sure that the lines are cleaned and taken care of.
All right, thank you, Mr. Calder. Any other questions before public comment? Okay, we'll open it up for any public comment. Again, once you phone in, press *9 if you would like to speak. I'll wait just a few seconds here to give time for any callers. Okay, we'll bring it back to the council for discussion. Mr. Harding.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to congratulate Mr. Calder and his whole team on batting 1,000 this past year. That really is remarkable. And I was just curious if your background image, if that's subliminal or lots of water and fertilizer. Very appropriate for the topic. But anyway, great job. Please thank everyone for us.
I will let the crews know. Thank you very much.
All right. Any other questions or discussion of this item? I echo Mr. Harding's feelings. Please communicate our gratitude to everybody. We will now call for a vote on the implied motion. We'll begin with Ms. Ellsworth,
Yes.
Mr. Fillmore,
Yes.
Mr. Hoban,
Yes.
Mr. Sewell,
Yes.
quickly.
Yes.
I will vote yes. And Mr. Harding
Yes.
voting unanimous. Oh, thank you. Our final evening, which is item number 4, an ordinance amending the zone map classification of approximately 3.75 acres of real property generally located at 1487 West, 990 South from agricultural A1 to one family R110. Mr. Aaron.
Thank you. As John gets those slides up, this property is in the southwest of the city next to where Kelshaw Lane subdivision was approved, and Century Homes is currently building on the north portion of that subdivision. If we could have that slide up to show the area that we're talking about. The applicant has requested a zone change for 3.75 acres of his agricultural land in an effort to produce a single-family lot in the R110 zone. R110 zone is a single-family detached zone with a minimum 10,000 square foot lots, and is a little bit bigger than what was approved on Kelshaw Lane of the R18. Staff has looked over this proposal in its entirety, both in the concept that the applicant provided and the initial subdivision of the one lot, and has recommended approval of the zone change, as has the Planning Commission. They would be accessing off of 990 South, which is a street that the Kelshaw Lane subdivision will be putting in the near future. And I'll take any questions if you have them.
All right, any questions for Mr. Ardmore? Questions, we'll turn to public comment if there is any. I'll give the public a moment to call in if they so desire, to press *9. Just wait just a few seconds here. All right, bringing it back to the council for discussion. And I believe we have the developer available to answer any questions you might have. Ms. Ellsworth, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm continuously concerned with the pattern of sprawl. I'm concerned that we haven't seen diverse development in this area. It's just a lot of the same. And yeah, I'm interested in different solutions, different lot sizes, and different housing types so that people can stay in an area that they love for more than just one part of their life. I'm interested in reevaluating some of those policies. Mr. Shipley lives over there.
Any other discussion? All right, seeing no discussion of the item. This is the first time this item has been considered. Does any council member desire to consider this item again at the next council meeting? Okay, seeing none, then I will call for a vote on the implied motion. We'll begin with Mr. Gilmore,
Yes.
Mr. Hoban,
Yes.
Mr. Sewell,
Yes.
Mr. Shipley.
Yes.
I will vote yes. Mr. Harding,
Yes.
Ms. Ellsworth.
Yes.
All right, that is unanimous, and we will, that passes unanimously. And as I mentioned at the beginning, items 5, 6, and 7 have been continued. If there's no objection, we will now adjourn the Provo Municipal Council meeting by unanimous consent. All right, thank you, everybody. Have a pleasant evening.